Can you maybe recall your first impressions? And
It was very hot. That was my first impression. I remember that you get off the plane and it's like you meet the air physically, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like almost like it's not just you walk into sauna, you walk into the air. And again, because I have never been in this kind of climate before, so it felt just physically, it felt like very strong and very different. So just weather-wise, I remember it took me quite a while to get used to this. And food, I still don't eat that much spicy food. I think it's also a matter, of preferences for people. I struggle a bit, when it's like really, really spicy. But over the course of 15 years, I developed taste, right, for Asian food. And so now if I go and I travel somewhere in Europe, or if I go and travel in US, I'm one of those who actually go and look for Asian restaurants because now I miss the taste palette, right? I think business-wise was in a way cultural shock, given that I was born like in Eastern Europe, right, you could say, and then so I spent a lot of time in Europe and US, so it's Western culture. It's a bit of black or white. It's kind of yes or no, this or that, you like or you don't like, so it's very, clear, right, in a way. And then I remember coming to Asia and nothing is clear. So everything is maybe. Things that would work in Western culture would not work here and the other way around. Like for example, in a Western culture, if you want to do something or if you want to like be successful in something or if you want to make a point about something, for example, you can raise your voice and people might listen, right? So you're like, I think this. And people go, okay, we're listening to you. But if you try, in my experience, like if you try to do it in Asia in general, but I think also in Singapore particularly, it causes the opposite effect. And I remember just also like at the very, very beginning, again, like at that long time ago with my late husband, there was this incident at the bank, I remember. We were opening a bank account and again, I mean, he was European. And so I just remember this. As an expat who would arrive to Singapore, a tall, big man, and we would go to the bank and then he didn't like something and he would raise a voice, as maybe he used to do in Switzerland, and people would just freeze. Nothing would be done, and so it was like the opposite effect. And I could see in their faces how they would hate him for this and not do anything at all then. This is what I mean. Anger definitely not going to get you far here, or any kind of aggression in that sense that might work in other places. And also, I remember this business for myself already. I, at the beginning, could not understand clearly with the contracts. Like from what I remember again in maybe Europe or US, you have a business deal, for example, and then you agree on something, you sign a contract, and then there's a very clear understanding when do you start, very clear rules about things. So in my experience here, it was not the case. You talk with people and you agree on something, and even like between companies, like I remember like in my field, in the human development field, at the beginning I didn't know, is it yes, is it no, do we start training or we don't start training, do we have to wait still for something? So they kind of were not saying no, but they were not saying yes also. And it took me a while to understand, and then one of my friends just said once, local, said, look, the way you do it, you just start. So if you have this conversation, if you agreed on something and they know that you're going to do it, you don't wait for them to actually send you, papers and maybe those final agreements. You just start. And then you inform people and you tell them, okay, we're doing that. We started already the training process. And, here's the invoice because we agreed that I'm going to bill you, right? So it's like a different way of doing things. So it was quite a bit of that time, I think, cultural shock to move from New York to Singapore.